Hey guys, Angelo Esquivel here, back with another review, and today I've got the exciting conclusion of my testing using the Fritz-Zyme Turbo Start Freshwater 700 cycling bacteria for your fish tank. As you can see right here, I've got the API Master Test Kit results for ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate. I've got a brand new tank with brand new sand, water that's been gathered from my RODI UV unit, so reverse osmosis deionization ultraviolet unit, with a sponge filter rated for 20-gallon tanks. Granted, this is a 10-gallon tank. I prefer to go a little bit overboard with the amount of surface area. It's always better to have more rather than less, you know what I'm saying. And we got a heater in the back. This is an Aqueon Pro 100 watt that I've cranked the heat up to 90 degrees. So keep that in mind, because I have done a fishless cycle. So absolutely no living creatures were involved, except the bacteria, for the process of cycling this tank, which means I'm able to crank up the heat really high, and that helps the cycle go along a little faster. Bacteria tends to grow faster in more hot environments than cold. So keep that in mind. Now, Turbo Start, speaking of hot and cold, needs to be refrigerated. This is not a sit on the shelf and store for a long time bacteria. In fact, it has an expiration date, and really, from the time you purchase it to the time you get it to the time you can use it, you've got about 2.5 to 3 months at best. The sooner you use it, the better. So basically, when you're trying to cycle a tank, get it before, right during the time when you're trying to do the cycle. And just for reference, this 700 bottle, which is the smaller bottles, this would have been easily enough to cycle 3 10-gallon tanks if you gave them 2 shots of 6 milliliters each. So 12 milliliters per 10-gallon tank. This bottle could have easily accommodated. Now, I have used it for 2 different tanks, and, you know, I measured it out. It says it's good up to 50 gallons. To me, I think it's closer to 30 gallons, but that's, you know, debatable. The point is, we have the results, and 2 weeks exactly, so 14 days after I started the cycle with approximately 2 to 3 parts per million of ammonia. That's what I started out with. So basically, I took the RODI water, remineralized it, put it in here, added some ammonia, and made the concentration of ammonia in the tank about 2 to 3 parts per million. And then I put the bacteria in there, and I let the bacteria do its thing, cycle, getting attached to the sponge filter here, and 2 weeks later, we have a complete cycle. We have converted all the ammonia over to nitrates in 2 weeks. That's pretty darn good. Now, you might be wondering, what's the difference between this and versus something like C-Chem stability? Well, the difference is, unlike every other bacteria in a bottle that you could buy on a shelf, it's not just an enzyme, it's not a strange dormant form of the bacteria, it's not a spore form of the bacteria. This is the real deal. This is actual, genuine, live bacteria in very, very high concentration. You can look at my video that I did previously, and you can see how thick the concentration is. It was genuinely a thick, white, milky substance coming out of the syringe when I put it in the tank. It was actually quite interesting to watch, but my big thing about this is, in this tank, because, and excuse the messiness, my RODI unit over here has a UV filter, okay? Now, the reason why that's important to bring up is because normally when you cycle a tank, there are at least some trace amounts of the beneficial bacteria that you need to grow on your filters. And so long as there's that trace amount, it'll start to gradually build up on the filters and grow, and that's what helps you cycle your tank. And that's why other bacterias in a bottle help, because they help facilitate the growth of those bacterias. But because I have a UV filter in my RODI UV unit, there was none of that bacteria because the UV filter kills cysts, bacteria, viruses, and fungi. So there literally was nothing to start a bacterial colony with. I had tried C-Chem Stability, which I might add is my general go-to. And to no avail could I start the cycle. So I bit the bullet and got this Turbo Start stuff. Now, if you can't find Turbo Start in your local pet store, there's a good reason for it. Because it's refrigerated and because a lot of people don't know, about the stuff to begin with. They're hesitant to spend the kind of money on such a small bottle. This bottle alone was about $14, and that was getting it from my pet store, from a very specialized pet store. Your average Petco, PetSmart, Petland is not going to have this. You can buy it directly from Fritz-Zyme here, but they'll have to overnight it to you, and that gets extremely expensive. So unless you've got a lot of tanks to cycle or a huge tank to cycle, it might not be worth it to do it like that. But if you have a UV filter built into your RODI unit that you're using for your water here, or in my case, I also have one in the holding tank for where my water goes. There's a UV filter in there as well to keep it nice and clean as it stirs my remineralization materials in there. So, if you have that kind of situation, you need something like the Turbo Start. And quite frankly, and I know I've gassed on a lot here, but there's a bit to talk about, and I apologize for that. The point is, do I endorse this product? Hell yes. Fritz-Zyme Turbo Start has got to be the fastest, most just genuine, true to the statement of bacteria in a bottle, ready to go kind of product you can get. I mean, I'm kind of struggling to find the words here. The cycle started almost immediately. It was going. I was getting nitrites on day 2. I was getting nitrates on like day 5. It was going so fast, and it was able to go where C-Chem Stability simply could not start. Which leads me to question C-Chem Stability a little bit, but then again, their formulas and the way they go about it are a little different. So maybe C-Chem Stability in this case would have just genuinely taken a lot longer. But I can tell you this much, the Turbo Start worked immediately. It was powerful. It is strong in terms of its ability to start the cycle. Now, how hardy the bacteria is, I don't know, because I've never used it before. In long-term speaking, certain bacterias in a bottle might have strains of bacteria that do the same process, but certain strains might be more resilient to, like, colony collapse. There's certain things that can happen in your fish tank that could just kill the biological media. And I've just happened to notice that some bacteria are more resistant to that sort of catastrophic failure than others. But as far as starting the cycle goes, I have a new favorite, a new contender, a new go-to. I'm not paid or endorsed by the company to say any of this. I want to make that clear. I bought this with my own money without really doing all that much research because I couldn't really find a lot of information on this stuff that I found particularly helpful. Which is why I decided to bite the bullet and do it, because I knew my situation was a little bit strange, because most people's RODI units don't contain a UV filter, which that is a bit strange to most people. But for my situation, that's how I decided to build my RODI unit. So I can confirm beyond a shadow of a doubt that this really is genuine bacteria. Okay, it's not just some sort of facilitating materials that help the growth of bacteria. It's the real deal. And like I said, I've got it started on this tank. This tank is cycled. I'm starting another tank over here as well. Some of these tanks I've decided to start from scratch because there was just too many things going on in the tank that were anomalous, and I just wanted to start all the way from the beginning. And I'm really glad I did. And the turbo start made doing this so much easier. And doing it with a fishless cycle made it super fast. You know, part of the deal is, you know, you use a heater, like I said before, to keep the water hot at 90 degrees, and that helps the bacteria grow. You know, bacteria just tends to grow faster in more humid, or in this case, hotter environments. And that seems to hold true with the turbo start. So, you know, beyond just showing you the tank and the water, you know, there's not much I can say. But it's been working really good, and I'm super, super glad I got the stuff. Now, really, since I've just got nitrate left over, I'm just working on growing a bunch of floating plants. I've got some Sylvania right up here. And I'm going to wait till it covers the entire tank and sucks up all the nitrate. And after that, I should be good to put some shrimp in here. If I wanted to do kind of overkill, you know, make the bacteria even stronger of a colony, I could just add more ammonia, let it convert all the way through, and just let the bacteria keep multiplying like that. I don't think I'm going to need to, but I could. That's the beauty of a fishless cycle, is you can artificially build up the bacterial colonies to a level that is way higher than the bio load will ever realistically see. But that being said, thank you guys for watching. Turbo Start. Try it if you need to cycle a tank quick. That is my recommendation now. I love this stuff. It did so freaking well.